extinción en la década de 1930.
Transmite en su canal de frecuencia modulada estereofónica multiplex La Voz Radio, desde New Haven, Connecticut, al mundo.
Good afternoon. I'm Jose Candelario. Welcome to K-PASA here through La Voz Hispana and WNHH 103.5 AFM, La Voz Hispana Radio, desde downtown New Haven y streaming live en La Voz Hispana CT and Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and at www.lavozhispanaradio.com. And today we're going to get it started with talking about a nonprofit that's very near and dear to my heart. Many years ago, when my family first came to New Haven, my Aunt Wanda was an activist in Puerto Rico and brought that spirit of grassroots here to New Haven. And one of the organizations she actually got involved with was Junta for Progressive Action. She really was in tune with the message and the philosophy and the servitude to the Hispanic community that they were given at that time. And I'm talking about the 70s and 80s, where social services were nearing its peak here in the New Haven area and across the country. Right now, we're actually going to start showing a few photos of these events over history, and I'm just going to describe some of what we're seeing in the black and white photos for those who are listening to us via the radio. The photos are of our history, and the first one that's going to come up on the screen now is the video.
Hola, bienvenido a Junta. Le habla Sheila Serrano de Junta para Acción Progresiva aquí en el 169 de Grand Avenue. Estamos en su servicio en este momento, desde que empezó todo lo del COVID, estamos ayudando con necesidad básica, referidos a comida, con lo de las rentas, si debes renta, utilidades. Estamos aquí para ayudarle en su necesidad, en cómo podemos apoyarle. Estamos aquí para la comunidad.
And with us today, we have the executive director for Junta for Progressive Action, the very, very intelligent and eloquent Ms. Bruni Pizarro. Thank you, Ms. Bruni, for coming.
Thank you so much, Jose, for having me here. Many thanks to the La Voz team, Norma, and everyone else that's here making this happen for the Latinos in New Haven.
All right. So, and that what you just heard in that video was Miss Shayla, who is an employee of yours, and there she was expressing some of the social services that Junta provides in Spanish, of course. One of them was rental assistance, and can you elaborate more on that?
Absolutely. Junta for Progressive Action has been part of the greater New Haven community, serving the Latinx community since 1969, 53 years in the making. We were started by community organizers, about 12 community organizers in 1969, doing the great work where there was social neglect, social abandonment. Junta and the community organizers that founded Junta were there to pick up where that was left off, to meet the needs of the community, and we're still doing that today. And so Sheila Serrano, our Director of Social Services, who has been with Junta for 20 plus years, she's really my ace and is my homegirl. I really love her, and she does such great work in the community, and she's so inspiring. And she's actually going to get an award very soon this year by Puerto Ricans United, a community award, and we are so very proud of Sheila Serrano for the work that she does. She really is a shiro in every sense of the word. So I'm here to celebrate her. I'm here to celebrate the 53 years of community service that we've had, social services. I'm here to celebrate La Voz and the work that y'all do in the community to elevate our narratives. And I'm so happy to be here. We're doing a lot in Junta. In the COVID era, I am the pandemic ED, or the pandemic executive director. I started in January 2020, right before COVID hit New Haven, and things changed overnight. In the beginning of 2020, I came to Junta helping to resettle families from Puerto Rico after, really the aftershocks of disaster, or the earthquakes in Puerto Rico, and we were primed and ready for that because Junta, as you all know, has been in the forefront of disaster resettlement efforts with Hurricanes Maria and Irma. And so it was a no-brainer that we would step up, especially during the beginning of my tenure here at Junta. I said, yeah, we have the institutional memory to do the work. Let's make this happen.
Before we even get there.
I'm sorry. I'm moving
you're
ahead.
I'm like, running through all the... We're going to have no show. We're going to have no show.
You know how we do. I could go on and on, but I'm happy to
just because we started late, don't worry, we still got 15, 20 minutes.
Absolutely, I'm here. I could go on and on with you, Jose, you know.
That's what people don't understand. Like, you eat, breathe, and live this work.
Absolutely.
And for that, I do want to thank you. This is not like, to me, it's like the amount of passion and time you put into this right now versus how much you're getting paid is so unequal that it is ridiculous, because you are put into this over the past 2 years, or since you've taken over, 24/7. Your part-time and full-time has been at Junta. And can you describe a little bit about that transition and how that, what have you learned from that leadership role in here at Junta?
I learn something new every day. I mean, not even one thing, like 20 things. It's just balancing my time, understanding why I'm here, why am I here to do what I have to do, and what legacy am I leaving behind. That's huge for me, especially where I came from. I came from a low-income, working-class household. My mother right now could be a Junta client, but she's in NYC and doesn't have a Junta near her. So I think about all the moms and pops out there that we're serving, and that really motivates me. I've learned so much that I used to think grad school was hard, but that is nothing compared to the challenges that not only we see at Junta, but our communities are seeing, what they're dealing with, because it's really about them, and we're here to be in service too, and that's what we're here to do, and that's the calling, the gift. I think that's what our team is here to do. We have that collective calling to help folks, to serve folks, so that they can feel a sense of belonging in a foreign land.
And let me say, I want to interrupt you. And how do you keep that flame from burning out, woman? Because you're there all the time, giving. How do you sustain yourself?
I think we're just talking about a good humor, being with good people who make you laugh. You're one of them. Being surrounded by folks that believe in the work that you do. They're not trying to tear you down. They're there to lift you up. And then I have a great husband who has, given us so much, like 1,000 hours worth of volunteer services. And
you can say his name.
Daniel Pizarro, shout out to you.
Okay, very good. All right. Because you know what? Then he's going to be upset with me because you didn't say hi.
Not at all. I appreciate you for saying that. But we're humble about it, and we're here in service, and I'm here to build with others who want to be creative, who want to think outside the box, who want to listen to community needs, and who want to partner in an equitable way. Because it also has to benefit Junta, it has to benefit, everybody's got to win in some way. Sometimes we don't all win, but I get it.
You said it too, like, your organization do provide resources, and it is a resource because of the information in the community you serve. You've got your boots on the ground doing grassroots service providing or resource providing there in the community. So yeah, there are organizations and major corporations, million-dollar corporations that want to come and tap into that knowledge, but don't want to compensate you for that very same information.
Thank you for saying that.
How does that work? Do you work for free?
Absolutely not. We do not. We do have no-cost services to our communities that are in need of our services. But to multi-million-dollar organizations who are looking to connect with Junta to do free work, we're open for consulting services. We understand that partnerships are important to the work that we do, but we're not volunteer staff. We do have volunteers, but most of our staff are paid employees, and I do always believe in the value of our work, of what we bring to the table, our time, energy, and esfuerzo, or effort, and that should be compensated. Why not? That's equity.
And let me tell you, that's unfortunate, because in every business, especially with minority business, when it comes to minority to minority, it's always like, let me get that hookup, son.
Right. Word. That's so real. That's so true.
And
absolutely.
And it doesn't work like that. Sometimes you have to pay up and pay, your tu hermano, your brother, the same you would anyone else, or even more because that's your brother. Don't look for that deal. And I mean, I can go on and on.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
there are good-hearted people that go out there and they shovel the snow for you.
They
right?
are.
You was mentioning the gentleman that does the snow. What's his name?
Jose, props to you for really looking out for the community and knowing that you can leverage your resources for Junta and for the communities we serve. You didn't ask for a dime, but you helped us out with the snowplow, and we appreciate all inputs from the community that want to support, volunteer, give back. Look back at your prójimo, your hermano, your hermana, your hermanex, and say, hey, you know what? Te voy a dar la mano. That's really, it's really important to me. I don't want to be, virtue signaling or nothing like that. People can have to do what they have to do for themselves, and I understand that people are in different positions, and time is a resource that not everybody has. But if y'all, are interested in volunteering at Junta, si quieren voluntar, spend your time at Junta, write a check, whatever it is, the resources that you have, we're happy to connect with you. It's really for
let
a
me
good
tell
cause.
you, I'll be honest with you. You have a very nice building, beautiful historic building
We
there
do.
on Grand Avenue. It's been there for hundreds of years.
Right.
But with hundreds of years of being there comes hundreds of years of deterioration.
Absolutely.
And right now, even to this day, we're really looking for a little bit of assistance, and even in that department, and bringing the facility up to like standards, like our standards,
Absolutely.
to serve our community. And I know that you've done everything you can in trying to get that building going, but it's like the money pit. I'll be honest with you. I own a house from 1928, so I feel for you, and the difficulties that you're facing in this day and age, especially with funding. But what are your attempts to getting that building, up to code here, up to snuff, let's say?
Well, it's really important to really think about what Junta is and what is the physical space that it represents. Junta is a symbolic representation of the communities we serve. First and foremost, we can be a beacon of hope for folks. We have a physical space that is called the Junta House on 169 Grand Avenue, right in the main thoroughfare of Fairhaven in New Haven, Connecticut. That gets a lot of traction. It's gotten a lot of mileage, and it's aging like the rest of us, right?
I'm
but
excluding me, but go ahead.
But as long as we age beautifully, there's nothing wrong with aging. As long as we age beautifully, and I say that from a physical space standpoint, it's important to have form, fit, function, right? And right now, in the COVID era, our ventilation in the Junta House is not where it needs to be. We're limited by physical space, by the fact that it was fabricated to meet the needs of yesteryear. We're in a position right now where we need more modern amenities. It's not to say that we have to be luxurious by no means, but just to get to a standard of basic dignity, and we're working on that. We had a building inspector come out. We're talking to folks in the community who are interested in supporting this work and building. And at the end of the day, it's really about coalition building. And I really appreciate that you brought that up with the building, because that is something that we're going to be working on. It's tough because of many grants, and the nonprofit landscape are restricted to programming and not capital expenses or investments. So hopefully, that can change, and there's going to be steps. We're in the process, the beginnings of thinking about this and moving forward. So look out potentially for a capital campaign coming up in the next few months. Potentially, I don't want to
no.
overstep my boundaries.
Let me interject here and bring back the mere fact that you were talking a little bit about the funding and how funding works. What people don't understand is that years ago, and I've been talking about like the mid 90s, I guess, there was a shift in change of how people were funded. And a lot of the funding was shifted away from programs and buildings and strictly to administrative funds. So they're earmarked already. So even like the United Way, that 1 year that I was part of one of the committees, it was like we were funding people, not their programs, but their administrative assistants and things of that nature. So when you look at buildings and how nonprofits function now, they've had a real difficult time transitioning out of this, this help program that the government was providing at the time, basically fully funding programs for 20, 30 years to saying no. From now on, we're just going to fund just the executive director. So yeah, when you see these buildings and you see like the Boys and Girls Club and Junta, and you see how their money is dwindling, you're thinking, oh wow, what are they doing with the money they got?
Yeah.
That's because they're receiving less money. They're doing the best with what they got.
Yep.
And even so, they keep pushing forward. So in that building, you're not only trying to keep your building alive, but now housing has become a major issue with this rent delay through COVID, and now you're seeing this huge influx of people that cannot pay the rent. And there was a program that was suspended, you said?
So Unite CT is the state-funded rent assistance program, which has been excellent in providing much-needed aid to communities that are facing evictions or that are rent-burdened in the pandemic era. Junta has created its own rent assistance program since April 2020. So we were kind of the first, and I mean, dare I say, but we kind of predated a lot of the other programs. I think we may have been one of the first rent assistance programs. Small. We raised pretty much $100,000 with philanthropic funds, private funds, a GoFundMe campaign that started early in April. First time we ever did it, to crowdsource or crowdfund.
Where's the crowd noise where's the applause, William, when we need it?
Oh, I don't.
You're supposed to give me an
I'm
applause.
humble. I definitely don't need applause.
$100,000.
Yeah.
Brought up to fund a program. That is amazing.
Yeah. And we're spending it down still.
You're still spending it down.
Yeah.
Roughly how many families have you touched? I mean,
hundreds of families. We offset in some ways because of Unite CT, especially now. I'm saying how relevant it is now to have some of that funding left over. It's so important because there's folks that can't apply for rent assistance through the state because I believe from what last I heard, it's paused or hit a pause. So they're not taking new applications. So where does that leave some of our population? Now, we don't have a lot of money. I mean, rent is expensive in New Haven. And if you have multiple months of rent that are in back rent that is due, there's just so much money that we can support. So even if you apply, we apologize in advance. We're not going to be able to serve everyone, but we'll try our best to make sure that people stay in their homes as best as we can. So I just want to put it out there. This is no guarantee that we are going to be able to give it to every single person.
Or you're going to say be able to pay in full every single person.
Full.
I mean, that's thousands of dollars in arrears. I mean, there's only so much a nonprofit can do.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, they told me that your food pantry doesn't even exist anymore. Junta, yeah. Or is the food pantry just on hold now because of COVID and safety measures?
So we partnered with, so there was a food pantry, from years ago.
Yeah.
I think that was not, when I first came on board, we didn't have a food pantry at Junta, so that might have just been taken out.
So that's before your time there. Okay. So you do provide rental assistance, and you do provide a plethora of social services. Can you touch a little bit about the services you provide for people?
Absolutely. At the core of what we do is it used to be case management, and I would deem it now crises managers, or crises management with ES at the end. So multiple crises that are case managers or crises managers are poised to deal with and connect with the community on. So they're essentially at the core of what Junta does is basic needs. So we help with rent, some food vouchers, gift cards. COVID now, we most recently connected with the New Haven Health Department to work with their team and other partners as well on a crisis response due to COVID and the pandemic. Which is so important because, without your health, you have nothing.
And with that said, I'm going to cut you off there because we do actually have a video with the COVID, right, William? We're going to make that pop. We're going to make that happen.
Let's make it
happen. And then we're going to go to break. And when we come back, we're going to do a Spanglish version.
Let's go.
A continuation of this conversation, but in Spanglish. Yeah. Se habla Spanglish aquí. So you're listening to WNHH 103.5 FM, La Voz Hispana Radio. This is downtown New Haven, streaming live. And here's the video on the COVID.
En conciencia por mí, por mi familia y por la comunidad. Antes de vacunarme no tenía mucho miedo a recibir la vacuna, pero escuchando las noticias o comentarios de otras personas me preocupé porque tengo mis papás en mi casa, ya mayores de edad, tengo mis hijos y tengo mi nieta que aún es una bebé. Comencé a tener miedo y decidí pues vacunarme. Espero con ansias regresar a mi trabajo para poder seguir sirviendo a la comunidad, ya que la comunidad nos necesita aquí en la oficina. Además, estamos viviendo en un momento de ansiedad, tanta preocupación, tenemos ya que salir de la casa. Por eso tomé la decisión de vacunarme, para poder regresar a mi trabajo.